Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday, where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. This is the first Simply Saturday episode of the new year. So Happy New Year. It is January of 2023. The stamp set that I'm going to be using today is this one called Warm Welcome. And it is featured in the brand new mini catalog. This catalog went live to the public on January 5th and goes through April. There are some really amazing and beautiful things in this catalog. I'll be very happy to show you lots of samples and projects in the next couple of months. Also going on right now is Celebration. This is going on for the month of January and February. And if you aren't familiar with how Celebration works, there basically are products inside this brochure that are rewards for $50 purchases and for $100 purchases. So you can choose anything out of the annual catalog or out of this mini catalog. And depending on your $50 or $100 purchase, you can choose free gifts out of the brochure. I wanted to get started with today's project, and we're going to be using a card and an envelope from the Basic White Notecards and envelopes. So there's not even any cardstock that you need to cut and score. We're starting with the note card that is already prepared and ready to go. Now, if you don't have these and so you're wanting to create the same size, I will give you the size of this note card. So you would need to cut a piece of thick white cardstock that is 7 inches by 5 inches and then score it at 3.5 and fold. All right. But again, we're starting with a pre-made note card. The first thing I'm going to do is take some Balmy Blue and my Stampin Blend brush, and I'm going to pick up some ink. I'm going to begin on a scrap paper, just laying down a little bit of color. This helps to prevent from getting a blotchy look on your project. Once I've done that, I'm just going to put a little, kind of a little halo of color. Now it's very light. You do want to start light and blend up as you go, because you can always add a little more, but you can't take any off. All right, so that's my second time around, and I'm going to go ahead and go one more time, adding just a little bit more color. This is truly just a hint of that blue color. Okay, we're going to set that aside, and with Memento Black ink, I'll stamp my 2 images. So I'm using this little bouquet, and it's super cute. It's a handheld bouquet, and you can see the sleeve of the person handing the flowers. That's a really, really unique image. Okay, so I'm just going to put that right here, right over that little blue halo of color that I started with. And then the stamp that says hello. So this is really just a little note card that could go for any purpose. It could be a thank you, it could be a birthday, it can just be thinking of you, because we're not going to really specify an occasion. Now, as sometimes happens, you can see right here, I got a little ink on this edge. I'm going to continue with the project. We can talk about a couple of ways that you might want to camouflage that if that happens to you, but I'm going to finish so that we can do our fast and easy. The one thing I'll do, in fact, I'm going to show you this. This is something that is part of my favorite tools, my favorite non-Stampin' Up! Tools. This is a sand eraser. I will put a link in the description below. This is an Amazon purchase. Sometimes, not all the time will this work, but sometimes you can actually do a little bit of erasing to remove a tiny bit of ink. A sand eraser is really gritty, So what happens is it kind of roughs up the paper a little bit and actually kind of erases and scrapes off the air. So you can see that that did a really, really good job in this instance. Now, like I said, it won't always clean up an inky air, but sometimes it's just enough. And in this case, I'm completely happy with that. All right, so that was not planned, but that's how we learn things, right? All right, I'm gonna reach for a couple of my Stampin' Blend markers. I'm gonna start with Highland Heather, the light Highland Heather. And I'm going to choose to do every other stripe on this little sleeve. So she has a purple and white striped top on, like so. It's such a small area, I don't even really know that we need to do any shadows. I will bring my dark Highland Heather in right now and just attempt, I'm gonna put a little bit here, kind of where her elbow is bending. I think there would be a little shadow there. And I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay, then I wanna do the paper that's wrapped around the base of the flowers. And I think this is light, soft seafoam. I'm gonna try the light. If it's not dark enough, we'll just go over it with a darker color. But I want this to be really pale. You know, sometimes this is cellophane and it's clear. Sometimes it's a color. This is working ideally. I really like how that looks. A little bit down here. All right, so again, that was light, soft seafoam. And then with dark, soft seafoam, I'll put a few of the shadows. So it would be a tiny bit dark right here above her hand. Usually where two things meet, it's usually a little bit darker. And it might be a little darker underneath as well. So I'm just gonna fill that in with my dark soft seafoam. And along this edge, like so. Okay, some of that is a little fussy. You don't have to add that shadowing. It's super cute without it, but it's good to see the difference, the before and after. Okay, now I want another purplish color, but I don't want my Highland Heather since we already used that. So I'm gonna use Fresh Freesia, and I'm gonna use the dark because I feel like we need a little bit more contrast going on for my flowers. So I am going to fill in each of the flowers. And then at one point I was thinking that perhaps these could have a bright yellow center, but the whole flower kind of gets filled in when you color it. So we're gonna drop that idea, but I will show you what I'm gonna do with yellow. Let's get the last of these flowers colored in. All right, and I've also got a darker green than the soft seafoam because I want my leaves and stems to stand out a little bit more. So I'm using Old Olive. Hold on just a minute. I want Old Olive and I grabbed Mossy Meadow. So give me a second to dig in my marker box. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna use dark Old Olive. So leaves, they're so tiny, really coloring them in is like just putting a line of color and it just fills in. All right, so that didn't even take 3 seconds. And then for those stems, I'm using the bullet end, so I've got quite a bit of control. I'm gonna just go in and go right over the black line of the stems to make them green. And then we've got these coming out the bottom as well. There we go. So it's very simple, but look how pretty that looks once it's colored in. Now I do want that yellow. So even though there is not a place for yellow, I'm gonna use my dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm just gonna put some dots kind of in this white space in between some of the flowers. it's creating some flowers that aren't really there. Okay, I'm doing just tiny little, like 2 or 3 dabs of color, and you can see how that kind of brightens it all up just with that little accent of yellow. All right, there we have it. I think the other thing that I will do is just color her hand, and the color I'm going to use for that, I have a couple of options. Let me see here. Okay, I am going to use this one, which is Ivory. Now there are a whole set of blends, Stampin' Blends, that are a bunch of neutrals that would cover a lot of different skin tones. And those are not here in my collection. So I just reached for Ivory, which was about the closest thing I could get to skin, one skin color anyway. And there we have that. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop there. Again, this is a super easy and fast note card. Just black ink, a little bit of coloring with the Stampin' Blends, and I am going to do the envelope as well, just to dress that up a teeny bit. So I'm going to put the same bouquet actually on the envelope. Now, a lot of times I like to put something different but coordinating on the envelope. In this instance, I'm going to use the exact same stamp, like so, and I'm going to leave it uncolored, so that there's a surprise still on the inside. And there you have it. There's an adorable note card. You could make a set of 4, 6, or 8 of these, package them up for a really wonderful gift. Thank you for watching today. Do be sure and open the description box below this video. I always try to put a lot of helpful information in there. There will be a host code in case you would like to order some products. And don't forget that the celebration is going on. I will also put the information about the products that I used today down in that area as well. So until next time, happy stamping.